This is how we ride. This is how we do.
Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen, and we got to talk about tonight's entry list at the Chili Bowl. I'm going to go down this list, and I'll tell you what, I'm kind of surprised. I just briefly browsed the lineup here, and it is crazy. I guess my, 4 years of being on the road and going to pretty much every racing region that there is and recognizing so many names is paying off. And also being somewhat of a talent scout in a way for some race teams over the last few years. And I guess I have a bit of knowledge on who is who and what is what. And this is the entries for tonight's Cummins qualifying night at the Chili Bowl. And we're just going to go down this list right here and talk about the drivers that are involved. It's funny, the first name that pops up here is Cap Henry. And the funny thing about this Buckwalter ride is that this is the zero car that most people are used to seeing Kevin Woody driving. We all know the story of Cap Henry with the 4 car and all the drama around the All-Star Series. But he's going to be in the zero car that you're used to seeing Kevin Woody be behind the wheel of in the zero machine. So that's how you keep an eye out for that one. Paul White, right there, P1, former Silver Crown champion. He's from Texas. This was one of the most, of course, I'm from Texas. This is one of the most iconic race car drivers in the state of Texas. I mean, Paul White has kicked ass in pretty much everything. I believe he's won ASCS events. He's contended well with the World of Outlaws, Silver Crown champion, and he always does well at the Chili Bowl. It was just a few years ago I interviewed him, and he was racing a 1990 Stealth Midget with a Gertie and was up in the C and B mains on Saturday night, battling brand new Keith Kuhn midget cars, driving by and pulling away. He's a very old man. I don't know how old he is. He has to be 70-something years old, but he still is out there kicking some ass. I think he won the non-wing sprint car series title down there in Texas a few years ago, too. So he's still active behind the wheel. We go down the list here just a little bit. You got Tony Bruce Jr., Ayrton Jennington, a couple of 360 sprint car driver veterans. Of course, Ayrton Jennington's been getting into the 410 ranks a little bit more here recently. And is a quality race car driver. He has some wins under his belt, not necessarily with the All-Stars of the World of Outlaws, but he's a threat to contend in a lot of regional events across the country in 360s or 410s, MOA, etc. You get down the list a little bit. Some of these names I'm not going to recognize. I'm going to skip over them. Of course, we got a rookie here from Arizona. You can't ever sleep on the Arizona boys. Jim Van Zandt. There you got looks like a female racer, I believe, Kayla. From Indiana, but I'm just going to kind of point out some of the guys that I know, give a little bit of a background to the names that I recognize. You got Chase Briscoe running tonight out of Mitchell, Indiana. He's in a Mahindra tractor car, so we know that his style of livery or skin or wrap is going to be the red, white, and black Mahindra tractor style look. And Chase Briscoe's good. I mean, it was like his second time. I was talking to him a few years ago, second time at the Chili Bowl. And he was contending very well up front, contending in the heat race and the qualifier. I believe he made the A main. I'm not sure on that. Made the A main or B main on the Saturday night a couple years ago. But he can get high, he can get quick, he can get fast. Yes, he's a NASCAR driver. Yes, he is one of those guys from dirt who is probably not one of the best drivers from dirt that went to NASCAR and has made a big name for himself. Not, based on opportunity more so than merit. But still, he can get going and he can be quick. You get down the list here, you got Gavin Boschel. Now, this is a Keith Kunz ride with a 5G on it, right here on the screen. Of course, Gavin Boschel out of Mooresville, North Carolina. He is somewhat of a protege, I would say, to a bunch of people out of the North Carolina area. Kevin Swindell's done a lot of work with him, and he is a young driver with a load of talent, a load of experience with the financial abilities that his family has been able to give to him. And he's always fast. He's very, very quick. And he was extremely impressive last year at the Chili Bowl as well. So do not sleep on Gavin Boschel. This could be a guy who could win this race tonight. He could win the qualifying race tonight. And if he hits the right spurt, he starts in the right spot, he could win the Saturday night A-main event. As much as I want to start idolizing older people who have worked their way, went out, got a job, made the money to get to a position that they can race, and they deserve just as much respect as a Gavin Boschel. I'm a firm believer that there needs to be a representation in the motorsports world from the working man side, and there needs to be a fair representation from the preppy rich kid side. The Jeff Gordon baby face versus the Dell Senior working face. I do think that the face of the working man has slowly been pushed to the side in favor of money. And with money comes youth, because most of the time it is somebody who is favored in a rich family. But Gavin Boschel is a hitter from the rich kid side of the world. This, you can't deny talent. You can't deny talent. And as much as I believe that we need to start representing the working man, these types, the young guns, these people, they get representation because they buy representation. But they also, some of them, not all of them, have badass driving ability, and Gavin Boschel is one of them. You got Bill Rose going on down the list here. Obviously, World Outlaw Sprint Car driver. Nothing impressive, though, as far as the result column goes. Casey Burkham, a little local sprint car driver down there from Texas. Very competitive as well. TJ Smith out there from California, going to be very competitive. Cannon McIntosh obviously has done a lot of things. He's won a preliminary night at the Chili Bowl, so this is going to be a contender. He is in the Dave McDalby Motorsports machine. It's a Spike Toyota. The Spike Toyota combo is going to be the relevant combination that is going to perform well at the Chili Bowl. I believe it was Tanner Thorson. I don't believe he was in a Toyota. I believe he had an S-Slinger last year and was the first non-Toyota to win the Chili Bowl. I'd have to look into that. If I'm wrong, correct me. Go in the comment section, bitch me out. But these Spike Toyota combos, they're very dominant, especially with the right shock package and tuning abilities. And Cannon McIntosh, they race these cars enough. They know how to tune them. They know how to get them right. So this is definitely going to be a contender for the win tonight, Cannon McIntosh. Alex Sewell, another local guy, he's going to be a fairly well contender. We go on down the list just a little bit. You see Garrett Williamson, he's an ASCS driver. Shane Golobic. And I'll tell you what, Shane Golobic, he's in a Matt Wood racing machine, and they are in Spike Stantons. You'll also see Stantons out there. I believe maybe that's what, I think that's what Thorson was in, was a Stanton. Somebody correct me. Somebody tell me. I'm not going to pause my recording here and go find out. I'm pretty sure it wasn't a Toyota, but it might have been a Stanton and not an S-Slinger. I know there's going to be a lot of S-Slingers out here. Stanton, S-Slinger, and Toyotas are going to be your main motors. I believe, it's interesting. But Shane Golobic, I have said it over the last few years, he's very impressive in a midget at the Chili Bowl. Obviously, Shane Golobic, a very highly contested sprint car driver on the west coast of the United States. He gets hot. Sometimes he gets cold. But every time I see him in a midget at the Chili Bowl, he is extremely hot. He gets shit done. He just is competitive in these cars. A lot of the West Coast guys in these Matt Wood racing machines, they perform extremely well. And Shane Golobic is one of those. Do not be surprised if Shane Golobic is lurking in the top 5 and possibly throwing a slider for the win. Those West Coast guys, they race aggressive, they race hard, and you got to be aggressive in the Chili Bowl. And I think that those tendencies that they get taught racing on those short quarter miles and short tracks on the West Coast really translate well to this indoor event with the Chili Bowl. Billy Rayburn? No, wrong one. I was Noah Gass is in there. Obviously, World Outlaw driver, got a ways to go. Weston Gorham, a pretty good Texas racer. Don't be surprised to see him shine just a little bit. Sean McClellan, obviously previous ASCS regional champion in the Oklahoma region. He is a good race car driver. Do not be surprised if you see him do well. Jacob Denny's been impressive over the last few years, also in the Chili Bowl event. We keep going down. Gary Taylor, probably one of the first guys we all heard with some pretty badass racing skill from Sonomas, Washington. Obviously, in today's world, Gary Taylor, you don't see him racing week in and week out, but this is an OG. And Gary Taylor performs very, very well. He's going to be in one of those WITS performance products machines, those green and white Brian Dunlap. I believe that's the same Brian Dunlap with Dirt Vision. I believe he's the head guy up there with Dirt Vision and everything with the World of Outlaws. So kind of an alliance here with the 32 car, Gary Taylor. He's going to be a very, very strong contender. Do not be surprised. Once again, a lot of these guys I'm going to point out and name and give a little bit of a background to, I think are contenders for a top 5 and possibly a lock-in position if things go right for them. A lot of competition, hard to say it. I'm probably going to say 20 or 30 names because there is about 20 or 30 names that logistically possibly could be up there. So far down the list, I would say the only one I could think of could be a lock to be in that top 5 would be Gavin Boschel, just based on it being a Keith Kuhn midget ride. Him and Cannon McIntosh, these are performance race cars. They are ready to roll. We get down here, Trey Markham. Of course, everybody remembers Trey Markham. because he is the guy who got into a wreck. Aaron Reitzel wrecked him, and he got out. If he wasn't taller than me, I would kick his ass. And for some reason, that made everyone scared of Aaron Reitzel for a long time until Wayne Johnson got into the whole bike situation, and we saw that Aaron didn't know how to, step side and rotate. But anyways, Trey Markham, he's a fast guy. I mean, this guy can pop out the screen and do some damage. I'm just saying I'm just giving you some relevant memory. Oh yeah, I saw that video. That's that guy, Trey Markham. Yes, that right there. He's in the 32 T car, Speedway Toyota. We keep on going down the list. Howard Moore, very good racer from the Riverside area. You got a couple of those kind of Riverside, Louisiana, Arkansas guys on the screen here with Blake Carrier in there in the 44C car. These are a couple regional race car drivers there, Howard Moore and Blake Carrier. Howard Moore performs a little bit better than Blake Carrier, personally, on some bigger stages. Personally, that's what I believe. But he's a good wing sprint car driver, and on the short tracks like Riverside and I-30, you get a lot of those trained techniques to really whip a car in there and race aggressively. Riverside is very underrated in today's world. Of course, Riverside traditionally had a lot of clout for, building guys like Sammy Swindell, Greg Hodnett, Hooker Hood. But Howard Moore, one of the boys down there in that region in today's society. We keep going down the list here. Kevin Brewer, a local racer, and then we get to a couple contenders to win. One being almost in a lot of people's minds a favorite if he was to show up and kick ass, and another guy nobody's really heard of, but I consider one of the greatest cows in racing. Ryan Timms, of course, in the Keith Coon midget ride. Got two Keith Coon midget rides here with Ryan Timms and Kyle Spence. Ryan Timms, obviously very notable for his Wing 410 experience. Very notable for jumping in the cars this last year and kicking some ass. He's already won in a midget at Placerville on his resume. And Ryan Timms, there's really not much to explain here. Extreme talent. Another one of those guys from the rich kid side. I love the working man side, but this is Ryan Timms, another Gavin Bochelle with a little bit deeper of a resume, in my opinion. A little older as well, so he should have a resume at that point with the allotted opportunities that he's been given. But this is a driver that people, if you were having a Vegas odds tonight, he may be on the higher end. He may be in that top 10 odds maker list to take home the qualifying win tonight. And if you had somebody to take home the entire Chili boat, he might be in the top 25. He might be top 20, and some people he's number one. But I'm just saying, this is a guy who we all heard about. We all hear the hype. We all seen the results. He's in a Keith Coon midget ride. He's taking over the Buddy Kofoid ride for 2023. So this is his debut with this whole collaboration of him and the 67 and Keith Coons for 2023. And it's at the Chili Bowl, a place, obviously, he's from Oklahoma. Has a lot of, I'm sure means a lot to him to win this race in his home state. We don't have Christopher Bell. He's kind of replacing Christopher Bell as far as being the heavy hitter from Oklahoma, I would think. So this is a guy you want to pay attention to. He's going to be up there. He's definitely going to be one of those locks for a top 5. And the guy below him, Kyle Spence. I remember seeing Kyle Spence for the first time in Pennsylvania when I went to their Speed Week, the Hyper Speed Week that they have up there in the micro division. And I went to a few tracks. I believe this is 2018. And this sumbitch was just waxing ass. And then I followed him all the way, or not followed him, but kept up with him on who he is. I'm a halfway talent scout. And he goes to the shootout and qualified for all 4, I think it was, and 1, 2, or 3. And it's just like, man, I know how hard it is to win this shootout. And I know how hard the racing is in Pennsylvania. And this Kyle Spence is a bad son of a bitch. And, of course, he won the Keith Coon Midget Give Back Classic. Or Keith Coon Motorsports, same thing, really. And he took the ride, and he is in the 67X car. Kyle Spence going to be debuting. This is his rookie campaign. And I'll tell you what, this guy, I heard Kyle Larson speak about driving a micro on the David Gravel show, where they were, talking crap about me for 3 or 4 hours straight. But I heard Kyle Larson make a really good point about micros. He said he never felt like they were hooking up. And I believe it was Brian Carber who won this Keith Kuhn midget ride last year or 2 years ago. That was the last time I really paid attention to who won that ride. And it kind of looked like he was driving the car, the midget, like it don't have grip, like not getting in the throttle enough. They're not going in. The micro guys are not going in there. How Kyle explained it, you go in there with the micro and you never really feel hooked up. Like you slam the throttle down and it don't go. Now, that's teaching some amazing footwork in micros, but it's also not teaching how to get in the gas. And I think I saw that when Kyle said that. I was like, man, I kind of saw what he's talking about, because I saw Carber not really get in it hard enough. You got to really get into these midgets. They like being sung up. You know, if you got to lift a little bit, drag the brake, squat them down. And I'm hoping Kyle Spence, who's drove sprint cars, he's drove non-wing. It's hard to make it over there in the Bridgeport, PA region and get rides. It's hard to get rides just on your name. He's got a few. And he's did okay in those rides. He had a back issue, had a back surgery a few years ago, and had to recuperate and come back. And he's come back pretty strong, obviously enough to win that big huge micro race at Port City to win this ride. But I hope for his sake, and this is a hitter, this is a dark horse. He's probably at the 100-1 shot. I would probably put a bet on 100-1 Kyle Spence, because I know he's got the talent to win this race. I know he's got the driving ability to win the Chili Bowl. But I don't know if he has the midget experience to win the Chili Bowl. That's the problem. I know he's got the talent, but he don't have many laps in a Keith Kunz ride for sure. And I think that you could drive one of these filler cars and then get into a Keith Kuhn midget car, and they're going to drive completely different. You got to hammer them differently. You got to get into them differently. You got to run them a little bit harder. I mean, that's just what it looks like. So I hope Kyle Spence, somebody I think can contend for this in the talent department, but not necessarily the midget department, because of the lack of experience, can catch on very quick and learn very quick, and I think he can. This is going to be one of those drivers I'm keeping an eye out on all night to see how he's driving, even if he's running deep, and even if he's not doing well, how much he's developing. This is a guy you're going to see get faster throughout the night, because he's going to be learning every single lap. Pay attention to Kyle Spence. Do not sleep on the talent behind the wheel of that race car. We're almost to the end here, and we got to talk about Tanner Holmes. Of course, everybody knows him, the YouTube superstar. He did not look too bad in his Millbridge hot laps. Obviously, they got the Ford Focus midgets up there in the Northwest where he's from. I believe he's run a few of those races in those cars for some guys. He's got a lot of racing experience. Another short tracker, West Coaster. He's used to slinging her, jamming her in there. Even Skagit, where he races a lot, you got to really wing the car into the corner, so that helps a lot when driving a midget if you got that short track wing sprint car experience. So he could do good. He's in a CB Industries car. These are top-of-the-line vehicles. They can win. They can contend. They have won before at the Chili Bowl, I believe, with Larson. I believe. Don't mark that down as a fact. Or maybe it was Christopher Bell they were contending. That's right. Bell was running for CB Industries, battling there with Larson. So they can't contend for the win. But Tanner Holmes, I don't think he's Kyle Spence talent, but he is a good driver and he's in a good car. And when you're a good driver in a good car, that's a really good combination. And if you just run smooth and good, you can contend for very good finishing positions at the Chili Bowl, especially on a qualifying night. Saturday night, I think he's going to struggle. Tonight, he may shine. And right below him, Jerry Coons Jr. This is a driver that is underrated. He shows up every year. He seems to contend up front every year, but every time he does it, everybody's like, wow, look at Jerry Coons Jr. Of course, he's got Father Time not on his side. He's up in age. He's done some amazing things in the Chili Bowl's history. But keep an eye out on this guy. Don't sleep on Jerry Coons Jr. You need to rate him a little bit higher on your bucket list, because he is a little bit better than what people give him credit for. And he always performs well. He just knows how to roll the Chili Bowl. Chris Windom, we're almost here to the end of the list. Chris Windom, obviously, really, he's in a CB Industries car, Spike Toyota, NOS Energy drink on the car. You can expect him to be up front all night long. Getting to the end of the list here, Tom Harris, he's from the UK, obviously. Something that's very interesting about Tom Harris is he was voted the UK Driver of the Year, I believe it was last year, above Lewis Hamilton. So the people in the United Kingdom rated Tom Harris above Lewis Hamilton. And he runs those cars with the wings. They kind of look like winged modifieds with things around them, little bitty car tires almost. Very interesting, hard car to drive from my understanding. But that racing stock cars, they call them over there, propelled him and his accomplishments in that vehicle to be voted above Lewis Hamilton. So there's a lot of talent behind the wheel with Tom Harris. He's come over and done some 410 racing. He has some previous starts in the Chili Bowl. He's run well at the Chili Bowl. I believe this is his second or third. Believe it's only his second year at the Chili Bowl in this Keith, or maybe it might be his third. But he has been running the Keith Goon midget ride, so he has experience in this car. We'll see how it progresses tonight. Do not sleep on Tom Harris either. Anyways, that is the entry list for tonight's Monday qualifier at the Chili Bowl. Names I think you should pay attention to, give some credit to, keep an eye out for. I'm going to be looking for Kyle Spence. If I was to pick, though, top 5 cars for tonight's race, I'd go Chris Windom. You can't slip on him. Hold on, I got to count here. Ryan Timms. I don't even have to look at Cannon McIntosh. Hold on. I want to say Bochelle. I don't want to sleep on Bochelle. I know he's gonna be quick. And then let's go Shane Golobic. I mean, that last one, Kyle Spence. I want Kyle Spence. Heart with Kyle Spence. But just looking at the Jerry Coon Jr., it's hard to pick that last one. But those are the 4 I definitely think are going to be up there. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, that's the entry list. That's what I think. That's who I think you should look out for. Who are you looking out for? There's a lot of people from different racing regions. I've been lucky enough to go across the country and go to a bunch of these different racing regions. That's how I know about all these guys. But what do you think? Who are you picking tonight? Who do you think is going to get this thing done tonight? Remember, top 2 is what matters, but that A-main, how you finish, also plays a big factor as well. But anyways, comment with who you think's going to do well. If you agree, disagree with me, be sure to like the video. Subscribe if you haven't. By the way, I like my new sign. Oh, yeah.
This is how we ride. This is how we